Good morning. My name is John Presko, and I'm coming to you live from Springfield, Oregon. Today is the 7th of January, and this is the day after the insurrection and attack on the Capitol and our government, led by Donald Trump, the outgoing president of the United States, who is a lunatic and needs to be locked up. I woke up looking for my byline, my headline for today, and it's always there. If I don't, it's what keeps me going as a writer and as a newspaper man. I've talked about an angel who apparently gives me instructions while I'm sleeping, which, gives everybody the opportunity to go like this. They dismiss me and say I'm crazy. That's going to be the topic of my report today, if not every day. There are millions of mentally ill people in America. Millions. And a lot of them need help. And millions of them look to the church. They want Jesus to heal them. They've heard that he drove out 7 demons from Mary Magdalene, meaning she was mentally ill, and he drove out her demons. And she became one of the leading followers of his church. There are so many amazing, crazy images made yesterday as this mob of, I believe, mostly Jesus freaks. They had the flags, Jesus. They had one flag with Jesus on top, the American flag in the middle, and Trump. That was one that was right there in the Capitol, right, the one that we saw the most. So I left off in my blog. I was going to talk about the death of the Republican Party. I was going to talk about my sister being a Benton, Christine Rosemont Benton, kin to John Fremont, Jesse Benton, basically the co-founders of the Republican Party, which a lot of people predicted would die on yesterday. And did it die? It surely took a beating. I mean, when the head of your Republican Party goes insane and encourages a violent mob to attack Congress, who are trying to count the electoral votes, and when he's, threatening the vice president that he doesn't go along with this lie that he got robbed of the election due to massive voter fraud. And this is what 12 Republican senators were going to present evidence that this was a possibility and that the possibility should be acted upon by Congress in a special kind of law-making thing, which doesn't allow, the Constitution doesn't allow for this. And crazy Ted Cruz brought up this Hayes thing of 1887, which was not relevant, and he knew it. This is a lawyer's tactic. He's supposed to be a constitutional lawyer. So this is like a divorce attorney, looking for some kind of precedent for dividing the nation even more than it was divided, making people feel more righteous than they need to feel, because Mitt Romney said it, made the perfect statement. When he got up to speak, Senator Romney, pretty much the head of the Mormon church. He said, we don't need to make a special law inquiry. What we need to do is tell the people the truth. Tell these crazy ass Trump people that are outside demonstrating peacefully at the moment the truth. Tell them the truth. That in your opinion, the elections weren't rigged. There wasn't any diabolical plot by Democrats to destroy the Republican Party and Republicans. And then when you throw in the secret covert messaging of Christianity, the crazy Christians, that Democrats are out to destroy the Christian church, then the truth will suffice. The truth is needed. Just tell them the truth. It didn't happen. There was no election rigging. A couple hours later, the president of the United States puts up a message because Biden bid him to speak to this mob that had broken into the Capitol building, the Rotunda, Nancy Pelosi's office, and had our elected leaders fleeing in these special gas masks. And they're crawling on the floor, expecting to be shot and gassed and bombed. When people cross certain barriers that they know they shouldn't be crossing, then your mind says, danger, danger, extreme danger, warning. These people do not respect that boundary, and they crossed it. And they've got to assume two things. One, they're crazy. Two, they're really, really crazy, and they're violent. Insanity. That's what we're talking about today. That's my headline. President Trump is insane. That's my headline. So I got up and I took my insulin shot, tested for my diabetes, but before I did anything, I posted the second image. And I only wanted to use one, and we'll get to that. That's my headline. Can you read that? Can you see that guy wearing that red nose? So at 4:30 a.m., I wrote, "The truth is the president and millions of Americans are mentally ill. It is 4:30 a.m. in the morning. I put on my clown nose. The truth is out." This is the first thing I wrote and did before I turned on the TV. And it was just right on cue. They're discussing whether the 25th Amendment should be employed to remove this lunatic from office and even lock up the lunatic that encouraged a riot, an insurrection that resulted in the death of a young woman. I assume she's young. I got a glimpse of her, all covered in blood as she's been taken out on a gurney. She was alive. By the amount of blood on her, I imagine that blood was all over the floor. Our sacred government, our Capitol building. And I was reminded of the fight over the building in Beacon Hill, built in 1779. And I took the mafia to court, and they sent two crazy guys on methadone. They gave me a lot of methadone to kill me. They told me they got a bullet for me. The person that owned the store down the street, he says they want their building back. They'll cut you in little pieces, John. They'll throw you in the gutter. They killed that little puppy, smeared the blood all over the walls. And I made a tape, and I'll put that with this tape on my blog, Roy Rosemont Press, because I came to see something as I cried and wiped the blood off the wall. I saw our supreme vanity, that the nation is now looking straight in the face of. Our insane vanity, and the insane vanity of one man that got elected to be the president of all the people. And he's a Republican. And Jeb Bush, Mitt Romney, Ted Cruz, and other Republicans knew that Donald Trump was mentally ill before he became the president. Surely the Clintons knew. They tried to tell us and warn us that this man is a dangerous lunatic and needs to be locked up. And that's what they're talking about right now. The 25th Amendment, removing him from office immediately. And this might happen. These thoughts came about on the day that Steve Smith and others had predicted that the Republican Party would die. It more than died. I mean, it didn't die. It's a raging bull. It's the madness, the collective madness that has gone untreated in this country. Many people who suffer from mental illness have gone to the church, tried to become Christians, did become Christians, sought Jesus' healing to help with their mental illness. I have 33 years sobriety. The second step says, came to believe a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. I heard a young man who had a scholarship to the University of Oregon, and he was in my one of my AA groups, and he said, I have trouble with this step. I was brought up as Christian. I have no problem accepting a higher power, but what I can't accept is that I'm mentally ill. And then he says, I looked at that. I got a degree as a science researcher or something like that. And he said, I put it together. I got a paper out, and I looked at it as one would conducting an experiment, a hypothesis. And I added it all up. And he says, I'm insane. It's right. The equation was right there, right in my face. I could ignore it. I came from a good Christian family. They're well off. They were able to send me to college. They loved me. My siblings loved me. And what did I do when I got to college? I drank and I drank and I drank. And every time I drank, I acted insane. And when I was insane, I put my career at stake. I put it in jeopardy. I could have been thrown out of the university. I was busted. They busted me a couple times. And they warned me, you can't attend this university and act like a crazy man. every Saturday night, because Animal House is a movie. And to try to make that real for you, when you got a scholarship and your parents paid you to go to for you to go to college, you're crazy. Something's wrong with you. And some of your siblings are beside themselves, and some of them have turned their back on you. He did the whole thing in front of us. The whole admittance. First, admitted that we were powerless over our disease. Donald Trump is mentally ill, and I believe his mother was mentally ill, and his father. And he knew he was following in his mother's footsteps. Mary Trump she comes from this island in Scotland. You can just see, looking at her, that she's severely mentally ill. A lot of people on this island are. So I could see how long this is running. So the photograph that I was going to put up in today's blog headline, we'll have High Noon on Capitol Hill, is the title of this blog, of this film and blog, was the picture I took yesterday of me standing in front of Belle Birch's home, which is less than 100 yards away, right down here. Belle Birch, who's sick, that the hounds of hell and Ali Valkyrie and the she demons on me, which my neighbors championed. It was right down here. Right down here. I found out on the 5th of December. I Googled her. What's Belle Birch up to? And I couldn't believe it. I'm not going to repeat her address. I'm not going to say, I couldn't believe it. I'm in therapy over this. Belle Birch and Ali Valkyrie and my neighbors put me in therapy. And I'm having my last session January 13th with Barbara. I had to go. I had to take this picture. I had to go by her house, the song Silhouettes. See, I'm very fond of Belle. I love Belle. I fell in love with Belle at the moment I saw her. Most of the women I've loved in this world are severely mentally ill. I bond with mentally ill women because my mother was mentally ill. She kept saying that she has a scholarship to Camarillo State Hospital. And she cackled. I go, well, what is that? What's scholarship? What's Camarillo? Oh, it's this nut house that was built. There were, I and my friends grew up. And there's a whole movie of her riding and them riding around the Camarillo State Hospital. So as a young man who was destined for the church, still am, I tried to heal my mother. Then I discovered on the playground in Glenview elementary that my sister was mentally ill, and I tried to heal her. Some psychics saw me. They did my reading, sitting on this hill trying to heal the children down below on this playground. It's this very beautiful sight as they saw me with their eyes closed to this vision of me on this hill looking down at these children playing on this playground. When I used to take walks up in the Oakland Hills, I would go by the orphanage in the Oakland Hills. And I always stopped and looked down at the children playing. It turns out that my neighbor Sandra was there. She was put in an orphanage because her father ended up, I forget that the mother died or something. But the father ended up raising his two children, and he was a severe alcoholic, and he lost custody of them, and she had to be put in this orphanage. But she turns out to be my neighbor. And she was dying of leukemia. And I called her up every evening. I took her shopping. I was like her best friend. I was like her family. Her brother ignored her. She had nobody else. I was there. And she was dying a very painful death, leukemia. She was wasting away. And she wanted me to come in and OD her cat. She said, if I die, would you please come in and give morphine to this cat? It's like I gave away the other cat, but this one is so wild and afraid of people, I can't give it away. Would you please off my cat? I said, I'll do it, Sandra. I'll off your kitty. Sandra saved up her morphine and killed herself with her medication to relieve the pain. And to be treated like I was treated, my cat's friends to be treated like this by my neighbor, Kim Hafner, Kathy, Krista, and her lover, to be called the lunatic who needs to be locked up. If Sandra was alive and she heard what was going on, she would have got in Kim's face, probably slapped her silly. Belle Birch was right down the street. And I've been looking for a way to make peace with her because it's got to happen. I'll talk about the senator from Nebraska that spoke. She says, we got to make friends with our enemies. We've got to bury the axe. We've got to love one another. This is the tenet of Christianity. Love thy neighbor as thyself. So I saw this right after I got up. It was peeking at me underneath my pile of mess on my dresser bureau. I got all this stuff piled up. This was peeking at me. And we were shopping, and Sandra bought this for me. She said, John, I want you to have this and put it on in a very special occasion. And she tried to explain what this, and she said, hey, I got it. I know what you're talking about. I put it on and took a picture. I'm going to put it on again. This is a warning. This knows. It's like Rudolph the reindeer and all the things that you heard about a warning Paul Revere's ride. I'm telling you, remove the President of the United States from the White House now. Take the nuclear bomb case button from him. He's insane. And he said it. He says, when he talked to his people who were riding as our elected leaders and congressmen, senators ran for safety into the safe room, he got on their TV and he said, hey, you have a right to be gathering here. They've done you wrong. They've done me wrong. I love you. You're very special people, mentally ill people, crazy people. They'll do anything he says. He chats with all his crazy people on Twitter, and they got him off Twitter. Now they're talking that was a bad idea because now that they don't know what's going on in his mind. We're in danger. I've been trying to find a way to deal with Belle, Birch, and I being neighbors. If she spots me, I'm heading off to the store with my walker to get groceries, and she passes me, and she recognizes me in somebody like a boyfriend is in the car with her. She might sick this guy on me. She might hit the brakes, and this guy will jump out and start pounding on me. And I will defend myself, and it can get ugly. I've been looking since the 5th for a way. They post words to defuse the moment because it's not diffused. Belle Birch lit a match that has been burning for going on 7 years. The fuse is burning. You got to snatch the fuse away from the sticks of dynamite. Got to do it now. You can't humor a mad person. And when I say Belle is insane, I say it with love. And she knew and felt that I could heal her. Rena felt I could heal her. 2 months after she got home in Lincoln, Nebraska, I called up her grandmother. She lives with her grandmother. She had to be taken away from her father. And she never talked about her mother, who I suspect was mentally ill. And this grandmother said this to me. And I said, oh, you're the young man who took care of my granddaughter for those and got her home safely. Said, yes, I'm that person. She says, Rena's outside. I'll go get her. And a couple minutes later, Rena comes and picks up the phone. She says, John. Well, it's called Greg. Greg. I was just out in this field looking at the sunset. It turned into this rainbow color. And all of a sudden, a flock of crows rose from the grass. It flew all around. I think they were starlings. And she says, if you were here right now, I would give you such a kiss. When we first kissed in the dark, the way she kissed me, I knew that this woman was mentally ill and even psychotic. I knew it. I took care of her for 50 days. Her grandmother knew how difficult it is and was to take care of a beautiful, mentally ill young woman who has IQ beyond belief, A+ student. It's one of America's great tragedies, and I've tried to write on it. There are millions of untreated mentally ill women in this country, and a lot of them believe that Donald Trump is next to Jesus and is a God-like person, and he's going to restore them to sanity. That millions and millions of women voted for Donald Trump, knowing what they know about him, knowing that women have accused him of sexually assaulting them, and even hearing the tape of what you should do to women, they voted for him because they relate. They know he's crazy. And he's openly talking about what they know about themselves. Yeah, I'm a lunatic. I should be locked up, but my president is a lunatic too. As long as he's empowered, as long as he's not being locked up in an institution, as long as he's empowering me and giving me permission to seek relief from my mental illness in the Christian church, he's my man. I'll be loyal to him to the end. I will give up my life for him. This is massive mental illness. And we saw it. We saw it yesterday. We saw people go crazy and go beyond barriers that non-crazy people would never think of crossing. They crossed the line everywhere. They sat in Nancy Pelosi's desk, put their feet up on her desk. They took things from her desk. They walked into the Senate chamber like they owned the place. There's a movie called Alan Bates, The King of Hearts, where the lunatic people take over. And this is what the crazy man that sits in the Oval Office gave them permission. He gave them permission to be as crazy as they can be, as crazy as they want to, and do as the craziest things and the most unthinkable things you can come up with. Val Birch was surrounded by anarchists, and I knew the king of the anarchists, and I knew the queen of the anarchists, and I knew Amelie, and I knew Bennett. I knew all those punk rockers that hung out on 13th Street. I knew them. I counseled young women who told me how they had to flee their homes because their father or stepfather was incesting them. I knew in 1987, as I was going this running lane, that I would be writing a self-help book. And you can see my sister and I, that I'd be talking about bonds with angels. The angel that she saw when she was 10. My sister Vicky saw it when she was 5. Bonds with angels has been oppressed. Severely oppressed. And Belle Birch helped oppress it. So did Rena. So did Kim Hafner. So did Kathy. So did Krista. Because it deals with the mental illness in my family and how my sister and I created a bond to survive and grow up. And we became creative, beautiful artists when we should have become axe murderers. cannibals keeping heads in our refrigerator, but we didn't. We didn't. And they just can't give us the truth. They can't. Robert Bach's law firm, they just won't let me and Christine be. They just won't let us talk about the healing bond that we had. Just won't let it happen. Because there's a choice before you hear from my sister and I. You can follow a madman, a crazy man, a lunatic, a dangerous lunatic, and he'll take you to hell and back, as Adolf Hitler did. You look at Germany, what Hitler did to Germany, it ruins. People all over the world and in Europe said, oh my God, America has gone insane and it's going to have what we've had. Attila the Hun, Adolf Hitler, Stalin, all those crazy men who left 1 million dead in their wake. This is the Voice Poverty Show. You be careful out there, you hear?